Seraphine stood in the great council chamber and felt her heart break into pieces. Around her, the lights of 1,000 species filled the enormous room. Above them all sat the High Arbiter, a being so old that no one remembered what his original form looked like anymore. He had lived inside his mechanical suit for 3,000 years. The Arbiter's voice echoed through the chamber. The council has made its decision. The Valeth will leave their homeworld within 30 cycles. This is final. Seraphine's skin flickered with pale blue light. Blue meant sadness for her people. All around the Valeth delegation, soft blue glows appeared on their arms, their faces, their necks. They wore their grief like a second skin because they could not hide it. The Valeth had evolved to show their emotions through light. It made them honest. It also made them vulnerable. But it is our home, Seraphine said. Her voice shook. Our ancestors have lived there for 50,000 years. The singing forests know our names. The crystal cities hold our memories. Please, there must be another way. A council member from the Krell species laughed. It sounded like rocks grinding together. Your world sits on the largest deposit of Iridium-7 in this sector. We need it for our ships, our stations, our expansion. You have 30 cycles to evacuate. Be grateful we are giving you that much time. Another voice spoke up. Perhaps they could stay on a small portion of the planet? A reservation? The Arbiter's mechanical hand waved dismissively. The mining operations will make the entire planet uninhabitable. They must leave. This meeting is over. Seraphine wanted to scream. She wanted to fight. But the Valeth had never raised weapons against anyone. They were empaths. They felt the pain of others as if it were their own. Violence made them physically ill. So she bowed her head and led her people out of the chamber. Behind them, she heard the council members already discussing how to divide the resources of her world. The next 30 cycles passed like a nightmare. The Valeth packed everything they could carry. They said goodbye to the forests that hummed in harmony with their thoughts. They touched the crystal spires one last time, watching them sing out songs of farewell. Children cried, asking why they had to leave when they had done nothing wrong. The elders simply dimmed their light and stayed silent. Seraphine organized the evacuation. 50,000 Valeth boarded 6 old transport ships. The council had sold them the ships at triple the normal price. They were old vessels, barely spaceworthy with failing systems and outdated life support, but it was all the Valeth could afford. Young Kiravan, a child of only 8 cycles, tugged on Seraphine's sleeve as they boarded the last ship. Will we find a new home? She asked. Her light pulsed with soft orange, the color of worry. Seraphine knelt down and touched the child's face. She forced her own light to glow gentle green, the color of hope even though she felt nothing but despair. Yes, little one. We will find a place where we can be safe. It was a lie. Seraphine knew the truth. No council species would take them in. The Valeth had defied the council's orders. They had protested, filed legal challenges, begged for mercy. Now they were marked as troublemakers. No one would offer them sanctuary. The ships launched on the final day. Seraphine stood at a viewing port and watched her homeworld shrink behind them. Already she could see the massive mining vessels moving into orbit. Within a year, the singing forest would be ash. The crystal cities would be ground into dust. Her world would be a barren rock. All around her, the Valeth dimmed their lights. Throughout the ship, 50,000 beings went dark with grief. The corridors that should have glowed with the natural light of her people became shadowy and cold. They traveled into the outer reaches, the edge of known space where no civilized species ventured. Seraphine sent messages to every system they passed. We are refugees seeking sanctuary. We will work. We will contribute. We ask only for a place to live in peace. No one answered. After 6 months, the ships began to fail. Engineer Talron came to Seraphine with a report she did not want to hear. 3 ships are losing life support. The food synthesizers on 2 vessels are completely broken. We are running out of supplies. Dr. Mirasol brought worse news. The children are fading. They need proper nutrition, proper light, proper care. Without it, they will stop glowing entirely. You know what that means, Seraphine knew. A Valeth who lost their light lost themselves. They faded into darkness and never woke up. She had seen it happen to the very old and very sick. She could not let it happen to the children. She made the decision that would change everything. We must land on the nearest habitable world. We have no choice, Talron checked his instruments. There is one planet within range. It is listed in our database as Kepler 442b. The notation says it is in human-designated space. What are humans? Seraphine asked. Talron shrugged. A young species from a world called Earth. They have only been traveling in space for a few hundred years. They are not part of the Council. Seraphine felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps these humans would help where the Council had abandoned them. Or perhaps they would be hostile, territorial and violent like so many spacefaring species. She had no choice but to find out. Set course for Kepler 442b, she ordered. May the light guide us. The ships turned toward their last hope. Behind them, one vessel suddenly went dark. Its engines had failed completely. Seraphine watched in horror as 4,000 of her people drifted away into the black void of space. They sent out distress signals. They called for help. No one came. The remaining Valeth crowded into the other ships, pressing together in corridors and cargo bays. They dimmed their lights to save energy. They rationed food to make it last. And they flew toward an unknown world, praying that whoever lived there would have mercy. Seraphine stood on the bridge and whispered to herself, "Please let there be kindness there. Please let there be hope." The planet grew larger in the viewport. Soon they would know if they would find sanctuary or if they would die alone in the dark. The ships fell from the sky like dying stars. Seraphine gripped the arms of her chair as the vessel shook and screamed around her. The engines were failing. They had enough power for one landing, but it would not be gentle. "Brace for impact," Talron shouted from the pilot station. The ship hit the ground hard. Metal shrieked. Systems exploded. The lights went out. Then finally silence. Seraphine pulled herself up. Her body hurt in a dozen places, but she was alive. Around her, other Valeth were stirring, their lights flickering weakly in the darkness. She could see that some were not moving at all. "Get the doors open," she commanded. "We need to see where we are." The cargo bay doors hissed and groaned. Finally, they opened. Fresh air rushed in, carrying strange smells. Seraphine stepped out onto solid ground for the first time in months and nearly fell. Her legs had forgotten how to walk on a planet. She looked around. They had crashed in the middle of a vast field. The crops they had landed on were crushed and burning. In the distance, she could see buildings. Lights. This world was inhabited. "Get everyone out," she said. "Quickly. We do not know if we are welcome here." The Valeth stumbled from the ships. They were a pitiful sight. Thin, weak, their lights barely glowing. Children clung to their parents. The elderly could barely walk. Many were crying, their tears leaving glowing trails down their faces. That was when Seraphine heard the engines. She turned and saw vehicles approaching fast. They were rough, practical machines, not like the sleek transports of council species. Armed figures stood on them, weapons pointed forward. "Behind me," Seraphine said to her people. "All of you, behind me." She pushed Kiravan and the other children toward the back of the group. Then she walked forward with her hands raised. Her light pulsed pale blue, showing her fear and sadness. She could not hide it. The Valeth were not made for deception. The vehicles stopped 20 meters away. Humans climbed out. Seraphine studied them with surprise. They looked so fragile. No armor plating on their skin. No natural weapons. Just soft flesh and determined eyes. But the weapons they carried were not fragile at all. A woman stepped forward. She wore a military uniform with many marks on it. Her hair was pulled back tight and her eyes were hard. She pointed her weapon at Seraphine. "Identify yourself," the woman said. "What are you doing on our world?" Seraphine's translation device struggled with the language, but it worked well enough. "We are Valeth. We are refugees. We mean no harm. Please, we need help." The human woman did not lower her weapon. "You crashed into our farmland. You destroyed our crops. Give me one reason not to consider this an invasion." Seraphine felt despair wash over her. Even here, at the end of everything, they would find no mercy. Her light dimmed almost to nothing. Behind her, she heard Kiravan crying. Then another human spoke. He was older, wearing different clothing. He stepped closer, looking at the Valeth with wide eyes. "Commander Vasquez, look at them. Really look at them. They are starving. Half of them can barely stand. This is not an invasion." The Commander Vasquez narrowed her eyes. "Then what is it, Dr. Park?" It is exactly what she said. They are refugees. At that moment, Kiravan collapsed. The child simply fell, her light going out completely. Her mother screamed and ran to her. Dr. Park moved without thinking, running forward to help. "Wait," Vasquez shouted, but he ignored her. Dr. Park knelt beside the fallen child and pulled out a medical scanner. He studied the readings and looked up at Vasquez with stricken eyes. She is dying. Severe malnutrition, dehydration, system shutdown. Commander, this child is dying right now. Vasquez stared at Kiravan. The girl was so small, so fragile. Her light was completely gone. The commander saw her own daughter's face in that child. She saw every child she had ever protected, ever fought for. She lowered her weapon. Get medical teams here now, she ordered into her communicator. Bring food, water, everything we have. Move. Within minutes, more humans arrived. They brought supplies, blankets, medical equipment. They moved through the crowd of Valith, offering help without hesitation. Sarathin watched in amazement as humans wrapped blankets around shivering children and pressed food packets into weak hands. One human, a large man with rough hands and an angry face, pushed through the crowd. Those are my fields you destroyed, he said to Sarathin. 3 months of work gone. Sarathin bowed her head. I am sorry. We had nowhere else to go. The man stared at her. Then he looked at Kiravan, still unconscious in her mother's arms. He saw the terror on the mother's face. He remembered holding his own daughter like that once, years ago, when sickness had nearly taken her. His anger drained away. Keep your apologies, he said quietly. Just take care of your kids. He walked away and started organizing other farmers to bring more supplies. That night, the Valith sat in a temporary camp the humans had set up. They had food for the first time in weeks. Real food, not recycled paste from failing machines. They had warm places to sleep. They had medical care. Dr. Park worked on Kiravan for 3 hours. Finally, the child's light flickered back to life. It was weak, barely a glow, but it was there. Her mother wept glowing tears of relief. Sarathin found Commander Vasquez standing at the edge of the camp. Why? She asked. Why are you helping us? Vasquez was quiet for a long moment. Because you needed help, she finally said. Because those are children and they are hungry. It is not complicated. The Galactic Council would not help us. They exiled us. They took our world. Vasquez turned to look at her. We are not the Galactic Council. We are farmers and workers and people who know what it is like to struggle. We see a group of refugees who need help. We give help. That is how we do things out here on the frontier. She paused, then added, I have contacted Earth Command. They will send representatives. But I can tell you right now, no one here is going to turn you away. Sarathin's light pulsed soft gold for the first time in a year. Gold was the color of joy and gratitude. Thank you, she whispered. You have given us more than help. You have given us hope. That night, the Valith children glowed softly as they slept, safe and fed. The adults kept watch, but for the first time in months they were not watching for danger. They were watching the humans moving through the camp, checking on people, bringing supplies, asking if anyone needed anything. Sarathin sat beside Kiravan and held the sleeping child's hand. We found them, little one, she whispered. We found the humans. Maybe we found more than just a place to land. Maybe we found a home. In the morning, everything would change again. But tonight there was food and safety and kindness. For refugees who had known only loss and exile, that was everything. 3 weeks passed on the world the humans called New Saskatchewan. The Valith began to heal. Their lights grew stronger each day. The children laughed again, their glows shifting through happy colors as they played. It was something Sarathin had feared she would never see again. The humans were building permanent shelters for them. Not camps or holding areas, but actual homes. Marcus Cole, the farmer whose fields they had destroyed, was directing the construction himself. He worked alongside Valith adults who were strong enough to help. You are giving us so much, Sarathin said to him one afternoon. We have nothing to repay you with. Marcus wiped sweat from his forehead and shrugged. You can work the fields when you are well. These crops do not grow themselves. Besides, my daughter likes playing with your kids. That is payment enough. It was true. Marcus's daughter, Emma, had become friends with Kiravan despite speaking different languages. They communicated with gestures and laughter. Sarathin watched them chase each other through the settlement, and her heart felt lighter than it had in years. But the Valith had gifts to offer that the humans had not expected. One morning, Sarathin walked through the human fields with Marcus and several other farmers. She touched the soil and closed her eyes. The plants here are stressed, she said. They need more water in this section, but less in that area. The soil composition is wrong here. You need to add these minerals. Marcus stared at her. How can you possibly know that? We are empaths, Sarathan explained. We feel the emotions of living things. Plants have feelings too, in their own way. They tell us what they need. The humans tested her suggestions. Within days, the crop yields improved dramatically. The plants grew faster and healthier. Marcus stood in his field looking at vegetables that were twice the normal size and laughed with disbelief. You people are going to revolutionize our farming, he said. Do you know what this means? We could feed twice as many people with the same land. Dr. Park was fascinated by Valith biology. He spent hours talking with Dr. Mirazal, learning about their species. The bioluminescence was not just for show, he discovered. It was part of their immune system, their communication, their entire way of life. When a Valith went dark, it was because their body was shutting down. Your people almost died, he told Sarathan. Another week without proper care and we would have lost dozens of you. Maybe more. Sarathan's light flickered blue with remembered pain. We know. We felt ourselves fading. That is why we took the risk of landing here. We had no other choice. Commander Vasquez called Sarathan to her office one day. Her face was serious. We have received word from Earth Command. There is a situation developing. Sarathan felt her light pulse with orange worry. What kind of situation? The Galactic Council has discovered where you are. They are sending ships to retrieve you. Retrieve us? Sarathan's voice shook. We are not property. We are people. I know that. You know that. But the Council sees it differently. They say you fled with Council-registered ships. They claim you are thieves. They want you returned to face justice. Sarathan sat down heavily. If they take us back, we will be imprisoned. Or worse, they will send us to some barren moon to die slowly. There is no justice for us in the Council. Vasquez leaned forward. That is not going to happen. We have made our decision. You are under human protection now. No one is taking you anywhere. But you are so few, Sarathan protested. The humans are not part of the Council. You have no authority in galactic law. They will crush you if you stand in their way. Maybe, Vasquez said with a tight smile. But they will have to try first. Earth is sending Admiral Okoye with a fleet. They will be here in 4 days. Until then, we hold the line. The news spread through the human settlement quickly. Some were afraid. Some were angry. Most were determined. That evening, the colonists held a meeting in the central hall. Sarathan was invited to attend. Marcus stood up first. I want to say something. These Valith folks crashed in my field, destroyed 3 months of work. I was angry. I wanted them gone. He paused and looked at Kiravan, who sat with Emma. But then I saw that little girl collapse. I saw her mother's face. I remembered what it feels like to be afraid for your child. And I realized that anger does not matter. Fear does not matter. What matters is doing what is right. He looked around at the other colonists. These people need our help. I say we give it to them no matter what comes. Another farmer stood. The Council is powerful. If we defy them, we could lose everything. We came out here to the frontier to build something better, a woman said. If we turn away people who need help just because we are afraid, what are we building? What kind of people are we? The debate went on for hours. Finally, they voted. It was not even close. The colonists voted to protect the Valith, even if it meant conflict with the Council. Sarathan stood with tears glowing on her cheeks. Why? She asked them all. You barely know us. Why would you risk so much? An old colonist with gray hair answered. Because a long time ago my ancestors were refugees too. They fled war and hunger and found a place that took them in. I am only here because someone, somewhere decided that helping strangers was the right thing to do. Now it is our turn. 4 days later, the Council ships arrived. 6 massive vessels dropped out of hyperspace and moved into orbit. They were warships designed to intimidate and destroy. The small human defense satellites looked like toys next to them. But between the Council ships and the planet, a new fleet appeared. 12 human warships materialized, their weapons powered and ready. They were not as large as the Council vessels, but they were fierce and determined. Admiral David Okoye's face appeared on every screen in the settlement. He was a tall man with dark skin and eyes that had seen too much war, but his voice was steady and strong. This is Admiral Okoye of the Earth Defense Fleet. I am here to inform the Galactic Council that the Valith refugees are under human protection. They will not be removed. They will not be harmed. This is not negotiable, a Council representative responded. His face appeared on the screens filled with arrogance. You are a young species barely advanced enough to leave your own system. You dare to defy the Council? We will destroy your ships and take what is ours. They are not yours, Okoye said quietly. They are people. And if you want them, you will have to go through us first. The standoff began. For 2 days, the fleets faced each other in tense silence. Weapons were charged. Shields were raised. One mistake, one nervous finger on a trigger, and war would begin. In the settlement below, humans and Valeth waited together. They had become more than refugees and hosts. They had become neighbors, friends, and allies. The Council ships hung in the sky like a threat that would not go away. On the 3rd day of the standoff, a shuttle descended from the largest vessel. It carried Ambassador T'Char, a being who had served the Council for 500 years. He was ancient, powerful, and completely certain of his authority. Commander Vasquez met him at the landing pad with armed guards. Seraphine stood beside her, though every instinct told her to run and hide. Her light pulsed with deep purple, the color of fear mixed with determination. T'Char looked at them both with disdain. This defiance is pointless. The Valeth are exiles. They have no rights under galactic law. You harbor criminals. They are refugees who did nothing wrong except refuse to abandon their home, Vasquez said. That is not a crime. It is when the Council decrees it, T'Char replied. You are a primitive species. You do not understand how galactic civilization works. Order must be maintained. Decisions must be enforced. If every species could simply refuse our decrees, there would be chaos. Seraphine spoke, her voice shaking but clear. We begged for mercy. We offered compromises. We asked only to keep a small part of our world. You gave us nothing but exile and suffering. T'Char turned cold eyes on her. Your world sits on resources the galaxy needs. Your sentiment does not change economics. Now you will come with me or we will take you by force, no. The word came from behind them. Kiravan walked forward, her young face set with determination. Emma walked beside her, holding her hand. You will not take her, Emma said. She is my friend. T'Char laughed, a sound like breaking glass. Children. How touching. Stand aside, human child, or be moved aside. He reached for Kiravan. The girl's light flashed red with terror. She cried out and stumbled backward. That was when Marcus Cole's fist connected with T'Char's face. The ambassador fell, more from shock than injury. He touched his face, feeling the blood. You dare strike a council ambassador? I dare protect a child, Marcus said. You want to take her? You go through me first. More colonists stepped forward, forming a wall between T'Char and the Valeth. They were farmers and engineers and teachers. They had no military training, but they stood firm. T'Char rose to his feet, his eyes filled with cold rage. You have chosen war, very well. When my ships reduce this settlement to ash, remember that you brought this on yourselves. He returned to his shuttle. Within an hour, the Council ships began powering weapons. The human fleet moved to intercept. Admiral Okoye broadcast one final message. People of Earth, people of the galaxy, hear me now. We are told we must hand over these refugees. We are told that galactic law demands it. We are told that we are too small, too young, too insignificant to matter. His voice grew stronger. But we have looked into the eyes of the Valeth. We have seen their children laugh and play. We have seen their gratitude for simple kindness. We have learned that they were exiled for the crime of loving their home too much. And we say no. Not here, not now, not ever. Humanity may be young. We may be small. But we remember what it is like to be powerless. We remember oppression and exile and suffering. Our history is filled with people who stood up when standing was dangerous, who protected the weak when protection meant sacrifice, who said no when everyone else said yes. So here is our answer to the Council. The Valeth are under our protection. Not one more tear falls because of you. Not one more child is taken from their home. Not one more innocent is exiled into darkness. This is our promise, and humanity keeps its promises. If you want them, you come through us first. Silence filled the void of space. Then slowly the Council ships began to stand down. Their weapons powered down, their shields lowered. T'Char's voice came over the communications channel, tight with barely controlled fury. The Council will not forget this insult. You have made an enemy today. We have made a choice today, Okoye replied, and we would make it again. The Council fleet withdrew. They left the system, their threat empty, their authority challenged for the first time in centuries. On New Saskatchewan, the colonists cheered. The Valeth glowed brilliant gold, a light so bright it could be seen from space. Seraphine found Okoye after he landed. She knelt before him, her entire body shining with gratitude and joy. You risked everything for us. Your fleet, your world, your future. Why? Okoye helped her stand. Because someone has to. Because if we do not stand up for those who cannot stand up for themselves, what are we? Just another empire taking what we want and calling it civilization? He looked out at the settlement where human and Valith children played together. My grandmother was a refugee once. She fled war in her homeland with nothing but the clothes on her back. A stranger took her in, gave her food and shelter, asked for nothing in return. That stranger's kindness saved her life. She used to tell me, David, never forget that every person you meet is carrying something heavy. And sometimes the greatest thing you can do is help them carry it for a while. The Valith were carrying something too heavy, so we helped. It is that simple. That night the humans held a celebration. They played music and shared food. The Valith sang in harmonies that made the air shimmer. Their voices could touch emotions directly, and they poured all their gratitude and joy into the song. Kiravan sat between Emma and Sarah Chen, a human pilot who had taken a special interest in the young Valith. Will the bad people come back? Kiravan asked. Sarah put an arm around her shoulders. Maybe, but if they do, we will be here. We protect our friends. That is what family does. Are we family? Kiravan's light pulsed with hopeful green. Sarah smiled. Yeah, kid. I think we are. Marcus Cole stood with Sarah Thin, watching the celebration. Your people have a gift with plants. My crops have never grown better. If you are willing to stay, we could use your help. Permanent, like... As partners, not guests. Sarathin's light shimmered through every color of joy. We would be honored. We have wandered for so long. It would be good to have a home again. Then welcome home, Marcus said simply. In orbit above them, Admiral Okoye stood on the bridge of his flagship and watched the lights of the celebration below. His first officer approached. Sir, do you think the council will retaliate? Okoye considered the question. Maybe, maybe not. But today we showed the galaxy something important. We showed them that you do not have to be big to be brave. You do not have to be strong to do what is right. And most importantly, we showed them that humanity will not look away when people are suffering. He smiled slightly. The council has been the only power in this galaxy for a long time. They forgot what it is like to be challenged. We just reminded them. And I think other species were watching. Other small species who have been pushed around and ignored. They saw what happened here today. That might matter more than any fleet. Below, the celebration continued into the night. For the first time in a year, the Valith slept without fear. They had found more than sanctuary. They had found people who kept their promises. They had found humanity. 5 years passed like a dream after a nightmare. New Saskatchewan became something unique in the galaxy. A world where two species lived not just together, but as one community. The Valith no longer lived in a separate settlement. They had homes throughout the colony, neighbors to humans who had once been strangers. Kiravan stood in the cockpit of a small spacecraft, her hands steady on the controls. She was 13 now, tall for her age, her bioluminescence strong and healthy. Beside her, Sarah Chen watched with a mix of pride and nervousness. Remember, Sarah said, smooth on the throttle. This ship has both human and Valith technology. It responds to both manual controls and emotional input. You need to stay calm. I am calm, Kiravan said. Her light was steady green, the color of focus and confidence. I have been practicing for 2 years. I can do this, then show me, Sarah said with a smile. Take her up. The ship lifted smoothly into the sky. Kiravan's touch was gentle but sure. She flew over the colony, banking and turning with natural grace. Below, fields stretched in neat rows, glowing slightly in the afternoon sun. The crops grown here fed 3 human colonies now, all thanks to Valith agricultural knowledge combined with human engineering. Sarah watched the young pilot with pride. You are better than I was at your age, and that is saying something because I was pretty good. Kiravan laughed, her light pulsing with happy yellow. You taught me everything. Of course I am good. They landed smoothly at the spaceport. As they climbed out, Sarathin approached. She was older now. Her light shot through with threads of silver, but she stood tall and proud, wearing the sash of a cultural ambassador. She spent her time now teaching humans about Valith customs and helping new refugees who arrived at human worlds, because there were other refugees now. News had spread across the galaxy about what happened at New Saskatchewan. Other small species, Other exiles, other people with nowhere to go began to seek out human space. They came looking for the species that had said not one more tear. Earth had responded by creating the Sanctuary Fleet. It was not a military force, though it could defend itself. It was a rescue force, a protection force, a promise made real. 15 different species now lived under human protection across a dozen worlds. The Council has requested another meeting, Sarathan told Sarah and Kiravan. This time they want to talk, not threaten. Sarah raised an eyebrow. What changed their mind? We did, Sarathan said simply. Humans and Valeth together. We showed them a different way, and now they are losing member species. Smaller worlds are asking why the Council does not protect refugees when humans do. Why the Council only takes and never gives. The galaxy is changing. They walked together through the colony. Human children and Valeth children played in the streets. A Valeth elder taught a human class about empathic farming techniques. A human engineer worked with a Valeth scientist on improving their biotech integration. It was seamless, natural, as if it had always been this way. Emma found them near the central square. She was 18 now, studying xenobiology like Dr. Park. She and Kiravan had grown up together, closer than sisters. Did you hear? They are unveiling the monument today. They walked to the town center where a crowd had gathered. The monument stood covered by a large cloth. Marcus Cole, now the colony's elected leader, stood beside Admiral Okoye, who had come personally for the dedication. Marcus spoke first, his voice carrying across the square. 5 years ago, refugees fell from the sky and crashed in my field. I was angry. I wanted them gone. Then I saw a child dying and remembered what being human means. It means helping when help is needed. It means standing up when others are pushed down. It means keeping promises even when keeping them is hard. He pulled the cloth away. The monument was beautiful, made of Valeth crystal and human steel intertwined. The crystal glowed softly, responding to the emotions of everyone nearby. Engraved on the base were the words, "Not one more tear, humanity's promise, year 1 of Sanctuary." Admiral Okoye spoke next. He was older now too, but his eyes were still sharp. 5 years ago, we made a choice. We chose compassion over convenience. We chose justice over profit. We chose to stand with the powerless against the powerful. That choice defined us. He looked around at the mixed crowd of species. Now the Galactic Council wants to talk. They want Earth to join them, to have a seat at their table. We will listen, but we will only join if we can bring change with us. Real change. Protection for refugees. Rights for smaller species. An end to exile and forced relocation. The Council thought we were too young to matter. Too small to challenge them. They were wrong. Not because we are strong, but because we were willing to stand up when others would not. And that changed everything. The crowd cheered. Sarathan stepped forward and spoke, her voice amplified for all to hear. My people were dying. We were alone in the dark, abandoned by the galaxy. Then we found humanity. Not perfect beings, not saviors from myth, but people who cared when caring mattered most. Her light pulsed through every color, gold for joy, green for hope, blue for remembered sorrow, and finally settling on white, the color of peace and gratitude. Humans taught us that strength is not about power. It is about courage. The courage to help when helping is dangerous. The courage to stand when standing means sacrifice. The courage to keep promises when promises are all you have. She touched the monument with one glowing hand. This monument says not one more tear. That is humanity's promise. It was given to us when we needed it most. Now we carry that promise forward. We help humans protect others who need protection. We stand together because that is what family does. Kiravan and Emma stood side by side watching. Do you remember landing here? Emma asked. I remember being afraid, Kiravan said quietly. I remember my light going out. I remember thinking I would die. Then I woke up and your father was there with food and blankets. You were holding my hand. I remember thinking that maybe the universe was not as cruel as I thought. I remember my dad coming home that night, Emma said. He sat me down and told me about these aliens who had crashed in his field. He said he had been angry, but then he saw you collapse and he could not be angry anymore. He said you reminded him of me. He said that was when he knew what he had to do. She smiled. Dad says that day changed him. He says he stopped thinking about what he had lost and started thinking about what he could give. That is what the Valeth gave us too, you know. You reminded us why we came out here to the frontier. Not to take, but to build something better. That evening, Sarathin sat with Dr. Park on a hillside overlooking the colony. The sun was setting, painting the sky in brilliant colors. Below, lights were coming on in thousands of windows, human and Valith living side by side. "Do you think it will last?" Sarathin asked. "This peace, this cooperation?" Dr. Park considered the question. "I think it will have challenges. Humans and Valith are not perfect. We will make mistakes. We will have disagreements. But I think what we have built here is stronger than disagreement. We have built trust, and that is rare in the galaxy." He pointed to where Kiravan and Emma were walking together through the streets. "Look at them. They grew up together. To them, this is normal. Human and Valith living together, working together, being family together. They are the future, and their future is better than anything the Council ever built." Sarathin's light pulsed with soft white peace. "We were exiled and alone. We thought we had lost everything. Then we found humanity, and in humanity we found more than sanctuary. We found hope that the galaxy could be better. We found proof that compassion is not weakness but the greatest strength of all." She stood and looked at the monument in the distance, glowing in the twilight. "Not one more tear. That is what they promised us. And in 5 years they have kept that promise. Not just for us, but for 15 other species. Thousands of refugees who now have homes, families, futures. The Council thinks they rule the galaxy," Dr. Park said, "but they rule through fear and power. Humans are showing the galaxy something different. We are showing them that you can rule through compassion and cooperation, and more species are listening every day." As night fell, the colony glowed with light, human electrical light and Valith bioluminescence mixing together, creating something beautiful and new. Ships passed overhead, human and Valith crews working together, flying out to find more refugees, to keep more promises, to spread the message that no one had to be alone anymore. In the town square, children played around the monument. They did not see different species. They saw friends, neighbors, family. They had grown up in a world where protecting others was normal, where keeping promises mattered, where compassion was strength. They were the future, and the future was bright.